10 interviews down and one phone call says it all. Coach Matt LaFleur is here, and the 2019 season starts now. We talk your reactions to the 15th Packers head coach next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey, Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys was once a club DJ in a country saloon, and the other guy gave up his seats on the 20-yard line so 12,000 more fans could enjoy the game live. And now it's time to Go Pack Go with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
Thanks for joining us for a special edition of your Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. I'm at Wayne Henderson on this 176th edition, recorded January 9th, 2019.
And I'm at Troy Heinritz, humble and thankful for the opportunity to be considered by the fans for the head coaching job, but I definitely think they're in much better hands today with one Coach Matt LaFleur. So we'll talk about the new head coach today and how busy Coach Matt will be in January and February on this special edition of your Packers Fan Podcast.
And we're going to go over a little bit of what we know so far and share your G-Force feedback from 920-3PACK-GO, from email, and from the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community.
Links or articles we reference in this episode can be found on our website, packersfanpodcast.com/176.
So, Troy, this was a lot sooner than we thought it was going to be. We have a new head coach already.
And I find that interesting that people keep talking about the timing and how soon this was. If you remember, they had the entire month of December to be looking for a new head coach.
Well, that's true.
So it's not like this was like, the season ended and then boom, the next day they had a coach. They've been making phone calls. They've been doing scouting. They've been watching tape and film and all kinds of other stuff to prepare for their weekend whirlwind of interviews as they travel the Southeast. And it seemed like they went from, basically Boston to New Orleans and into Tampa Bay and Nashville and that area. So it's really like nobody from the West Coast, even though we run a West Coast offense. I find that interesting.
That is very interesting indeed. And it's not that we haven't been working on this for at least a month now, but for whatever reason, I just thought that they would let things simmer for a little while and really go to second interviews and third interviews. But apparently they're very happy they found their guy, and they are 100% convinced that Matt LaFleur is the guy to lead us back to the promised land and Super Bowl rings and trophies and fun stuff like that.
And if nothing else, if all the guys in the locker room are getting much younger than Aaron Rodgers at least has somebody his age now to hang out with on the weekend.
That's a win-win. We'll take it. And according to Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network, both sides, the Packers and Matt LaFleur, agreed to a 4-year contract with a 5th-year team option, which, if we win a couple more Super Bowls, I'm sure that'll be locked in.
I guess that runs the same distance as Aaron Rodgers' new contract.
Coincidence?
We'll talk about those coincidences with one Deshaun Kaiser, maybe.
Oh, yes. So today, he just was hired last night, flew into Green Bay. Today was the introductory press conference. Mark Murphy went over the process that they used to do the interviews and select who they wanted. And wow, Mark Murphy went on for quite a while.
Yeah, just one thing that's interesting is for Mark Murphy being like the head of the organization, he doesn't present very well. That's one thing that I noticed in this interview. I think sometimes, we occasionally or stammer here or there or trip over our words, but for the most part, I think for someone who had prepared notes in front of him, he had a lot of ums and just really didn't know where he was going with some of his thoughts at times.
I wonder if he was as nervous as Matt LaFleur seemed.
Oh yeah, Matt LaFleur seemed totally nervous. Like this is a place that he was hoping he would be, but then he was like, "Oh crap, it's real."
I would be beyond nervous just knowing, of all the teams in the NFL, you get to finally be a head coach, and you're a head coach of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. At the same time, though, Matt was, in my opinion, very excited, focused, and yet humble at the same time, and he emphasized being what he calls process-driven.
And process is a key word. I came up too with Mark Murphy, how we followed the process, and it was a very timely process and gave us time to go through the process. And I think one of the things that I really took from the press conference in particular, not even from Matt specifically, but the fact that they have this leadership committee, this group of leaders from every position, and they actually took the players' input before they went on their whirlwind weekend tour of interviews. One of those obviously being Aaron Rodgers. And I think that says a testament to the fact that they wanted to get the input from the players, and the players stressed a lot in that conversation about how they were looking for accountability is another big word. So someone that's going to come in here and hold players accountable, hold coaches accountable, and really make sure that we get the best out of everybody that we possibly can. So between the process, the accountability, if they follow the rules, then I think we'll have a good team. If they don't follow the rules, it'll be interesting to see how a 39-year-old is going to come in there and command respect of the room.
And even though on the surface, 39 years old seems young in head coaching standards, he is still older than all the players on the team. So I think he'll be just fine. We just have to trust in Gutekunst and Murphy and, again, the process, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm looking forward to in this entire thing is the pedigree that LaFleur has been able to build up over the years, specifically working with the Los Angeles Rams and taking Jared Goff to being a nobody to a somebody, literally in one season. You had he was with Atlanta as the quarterbacks coach in 2015 and 2016. We know very well as Packer fans that Matt Ryan in 2015 and 2016 was something of a freakazoid at that point, because he just kept trashing us all over the place, including that NFC Championship game in 16. So to know that we have the coach who was responsible for having Matt Ryan beat us that one step closer to the Super Bowl in 16, definitely something to keep in mind. And then he was also the quarterback's coach when he was at Notre Dame, which is where you hear from one Kaiser showing up. So maybe there was a connection there as well.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Let the conspiracy theories begin between Coach LaFleur and Deshaun Kaiser. And of course, most recently, his year as the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans and the play caller. But at the same time, much like the Packers, the Titans just had far too many injuries to overcome to really show off what LaFleur as well as Marcus Mariota could really do last year.
Well, and I think that's the one thing to call out is that Marcus Mariota had injuries all throughout the course of the season. So even though the Titans were in the kind of lower 20s as far as total offensive yards last season, you look at what he was able to put together, and he was literally one win away from making the playoffs. So it's not like the Titans had a bad season last year, and it's not to say that that's a reflection on what LaFleur was able to bring to the table as a play caller, since it was his first time with that duty under his belt. So I'm excited to see what he's able to put together. And if he keeps Joe Philbin, who was also a mastermind of that 2011 15-1 season, combine that with Aaron's input, I think we could have some pretty interesting things on offense. And then with Mike Pettin already doing a bang-up job bringing the defense back around from a year ago, get him a couple more players, and he could be a top 5 defense as well. We could be closer in 19 than we might think. I know we were talking potentially 2020 as our year to go back to the big dance, but this will be interesting to find out if we can maybe make it happen in 19 as well.
Why not? Let's go for it. And I think in 2020, isn't that when the Super Bowl is right here in Los Angeles at the brand new stadium, possibly? Or possibly 2021.
If that thing ever gets built.
Yeah. Every 10 raindrops, it gets delayed another week or two. It's insane. And even before all of those stops, LaFleur was also the quarterback's coach for the Redskins when RG3 was doing pretty well. He worked with the Houston Texans. So he's been on kind of a fast track. He's been to quite a few teams. So I think he's very versatile in all the different systems that might be out there.
It's crazy to think that he's been a coach now for 15 years already. So, I mean, literally you take 39 minus 15 math on a podcast, 24. I mean, literally out of the college ranks to start at Saginaw Valley State back in 2003 as an offensive assistant. So he's learned the game, and he's actually the son of a coach as well. So he's been around the game a long time. So I think that's one of the things Murphy even mentioned it in the press conference, that the respect that he'll have for the game alone should make him a fairly decent coach overall, because he understands formations and concepts and schemes, just being around the game as long as he has.
And if you saw the congratulatory video that Sean McVay had yesterday, man, Sean McVay loves this guy.
Yeah, he's probably mad he still wasn't with the Rams.
But there's that. And who knows if the Packers and Rams will get a rematch of this year's close game, possibly in the playoffs next year. We'll see. Too early to tell. But I have a question, Troy. You know, he just got hired, just got the deal. Everything's locked in. How soon do you think before Coach LaFleur will actually begin shaping the coaching staff to his liking? Like possibly letting some people go, Zook, excuse me, and others.
Wow. Sounded like you said Zook and you're coughing there. But I think that he's probably going to put together the team fairly quickly. You're going to want him to be able to look at the coaching staff and get that probably, I would assume, solidified, hopefully by Super Bowl weekend. Now, it's going to depend on if there's people that he wants to bring in that are on playoff-bound teams, because obviously they can't be talked to. So, but I would assume shortly after the Super Bowl, the coaching staff will be put together. They start looking at installation and what they're going to do as far as putting together an offense and a defense, etc. That'll lead into the free agency window then in March. And then that, of course, leads us to the draft at the end of April.
I can't wait. It's going to be a long couple of months after the Super Bowl before the draft, but it is every year. So somehow we will survive. But I just heard just about an hour ago, right before coming on the air, that McCarthy did not end up getting the head coaching job with the Jets. And apparently he didn't want any of the other openings. So he's actually taken a year off to hang out with his family. And you mentioned on the podcast a few episodes ago when McCarthy was fired that he does get to spend the holidays with his family. So there's pluses to this. It's not like he's financially strapped. And now he has a whole year to just get totally focused and spend time with his family. So we wish the best to Mike McCarthy at his future endeavors, as long as they're not in the NFC North.
And I thought that was funny that the Jets was like the one that was kind of the marker, if you will, because the whole Brett Favre situation going to the Jets. And then here's McCarthy, the guy who basically sent Brett Favre away to go to the Jets as well. That would have been super hysterical if that had actually played out.
Stranger things have happened in the NFL. So, yeah, that would have been very, very interesting indeed. And then next thing you know, McCarthy would be in Minnesota. Those days. Packers.com had an interesting article they put out today, and we'll link to the full thing in our show notes at PackersFanPodcast.com/176 with 5 things to know about Coach LaFleur, which is tough to say. I need to really work on this LaFleur thing, even after all those years watching Lost. And of course, like you mentioned earlier, Troy, he did help lead the offensive overhaul in Los Angeles with Jared Goff. And he gained a lot of play calling experience last year in Tennessee. So play calling, I heard that he is going to be calling his own plays. And he hinted that he's got some interesting ideas, and he's definitely going to share them with Aaron Rodgers and make sure they're on the same page. And he's confident that Aaron Rodgers will be able to handle them, which I have no doubt, because Aaron Rodgers being one of the best ever and a very smart guy, I think he can adjust to any new scheme.
I think the most important thing, though, is that he's like the quarterback whisperer in a way, because Aaron Rodgers won't be the first MVP quarterback LaFleur has coached. He's actually also coached, as we mentioned, Matt Ryan, who, when you go back to that MVP 2016 campaign in his march to the Super Bowl, he had 4,944 yards with 38 touchdowns, which basically led the entire NFL with a 117.1 quarterback rating that season, which to this day is still the 5th highest mark in league history. So that's pretty impressive.
I'll take that.
And he's highly regarded in the NFL circles as well. Several former players, coaches, confidants of LaFleur turned to Twitter to voice their approval of the newest coach for the Green Bay Packers. Even Baltimore quarterback Robert Griffin III touted LaFleur as a great coach and even a better guy. So I think that'll be really great to see what he's able to do. And he's got some experience with Mr. Kirk Cousins as well. And so it'll be interesting to see what he might be able to bring against the Vikings when we go to play them next year.
Mm-hmm. I am looking forward to that indeed, Troy. And of course, in college, working with Deshaun Kaiser to a degree, but at the same time, make no mistake, Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback. But if Deshaun Kaiser stays as our backup quarterback next season, I do think he will be even more prepared than ever to take over or fill in if something happens yet again.
We should also mention that under LaFleur's watch over there in Washington, Robert the Griffin III did help Washington win its first NFC East title in 13 years, en route to becoming the first rookie quarterback in franchise history to be selected to the Pro Bowl.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it too is that he's Midwest nice. He's from Michigan. He's a native of Mount Pleasant specifically, and he played receiver actually for 2 seasons at Western Michigan before transferring to play quarterback himself at Saginaw Valley State in 2000. LaFleur led the Cardinals to 3 consecutive NCAA Division II playoff appearances and was twice named the team's MVP, and currently ranks 3rd in the school's history in both completions and pass attempts, and 4th in the career passing yards and touchdown passes. So he's played the position, which is amazing. He's like the quarterback whisperer for the last couple of years. So working with Aaron Rodgers, who wants to be coached, Aaron's words, this should be interesting to see what they're able to pull off.
And he's had all of these experiences and has worked with all this talent, and he's still slightly younger than Tom Brady is. It's amazing.
That is true. That is true.
This has been a busy man, so he's got the energy. He's going to make things happen. Other folks with energy are the Packers Fan Podcast G-Force listeners. We always want to hear from you. Even during the offseason, you can give us a call. We'll be able to hear it if you call us at 920-3-PACK-GO, much like Andre did today.
Hey guys, it's Andre in LA. Go Pack Go as always. I'm calling because I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about the new head coach hire. Can't even really pronounce his name. And everything I'm hearing on, various sports talk shows is, he wasn't really a great coach. He wasn't really a great offensive coordinator. So I'm confused, and all because apparently he had some kind of connection, like 6 degrees of separation to Sean McVay. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping the defense improves, because that's also a big issue, the defense. I've not heard anyone address that. I'm hoping that the team can stay healthy next year. And, I'm looking for the Packers to do better next year. I can't wait for the season to start again, even though this season hasn't finished already. But as always, I'm just a fan of the podcast, fan of the show. I'm glad you guys are doing a special episode, because I love listening to the podcast every week. Andre in LA, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go indeed, Andre. Thank you for all of your support and your kind words. Thank you so much for giving us a call on such short notice. Troy, how is he supposed to feel about Coach LaFleur?
I think Coach LaFleur will do just fine. I mean, the big thing that you're going to have to wonder about here, of course, is the age and experience. I mean, he's been in the NFL for a few seasons now, so it's not like this is a coming up from college coach, which may have a lot of coaching experience, but no NFL experience. I mean, he's been around the league. He's been around big teams. He's been to the big game. I think this is something that all say, hey, this is a guy who knows how to get it done, and he knows what the job is all about, and he knows quarterbacks specifically. And so I think that's the big thing for when you look at the Green Bay Packers. You need someone that's going to be able to work with the quarterback, make the quarterback the leader, get focused again, and bring out the best that he possibly can in Aaron's late career in order to get us to the promised land and bring home yet another Lombardi trophy.
And then we have to change our whole slogan and get used to saying the 14-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. But that kind of rolls off the tongue. That'll be fine. Andre,
8 years in the making.
Can you imagine? Because the podcast, the Packers Fan Podcast, was started shortly after we won the Super Bowl. It used to be part of my Tuning In with Wayne Henderson general show, and it got a spun off, much like Joni Loves Chachi did from Happy Days and Mork and Mindy, and right after the Super Bowl victory and all those great seasons. So, like you say, 8 years in the making. And Andre, a great point about we need to find a way to stay healthy. So I don't know if it's possible to ensure that happens, but I think that's a huge focus that we need to keep in mind, right?
Hey, Wayne and Troy, Sir Wayne, Sir Troy, so good to be a part of your Packers fan podcast. I miss being under the dome with you guys. Well, talking about the Packers, I just wonder, in your opinion, how much does a head coach really make or break a team in the NFL? Or, in college for that matter, but with the Packers getting this new head coach, LaFleur, who I was disappointed that it wasn't the LaFleur from Lost, I'll be honest with you. I just wonder, how much does a coach really matter, and how much do they have an impact on players winning games or not? And should a team really be so moved by the performance of, say, one season that they fire the coach? I mean, their old coach got them to the playoffs plenty of times. At what point is it the coach's fault for the losing? And at what point is it just a bad team dynamic, bad players maybe? I mean, you have some of the same players. You still have Aaron Rodgers, and you have one of my hometown boys, Devontae Adams, who was from Fresno State, helping out the team. I just wonder, I always, I guess, question when a team is so quick to get rid of their head coach because of a bad season, and maybe it's been a downward slope over the past couple of years, but just wonder what you guys thought about that. Is it really, should we be so quick to fire a head coach, or should we give him some more time to maybe restructure, bring on some new players, bring on some new guys below him in the coaching staff? Even bring in somebody that could be like a team building kind of, I don't want to say motivational speaker, but you know what I'm saying, like somebody who can help the guys come together as a team more. It seems like when the guys are closer together, that more better things happen. So anyway, just want to say hi to you guys. Happy New Year, and thank you guys for being an inspiration to me to start my own podcast, which I will not plug. I'll give you guys the opportunity, or not, if you want to plug it. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and all I can say to conclude this is I sure look forward to my Eagles landing in Lambeau Field in 2019. Thanks for the show, and we'll see you next season.
Thanks so much, Aaron Arnett. The way you close out the voicemails for the future, FYI, is go Pack Go. That's the last three things you say when you're done. Just for the future. Anyways.
Good
tip. Team building, motivation, all of that fun stuff you were talking about. That is the job of the head coach. The head coach is the guy who's supposed to rally the troops, get the team excited, come in and give the big speech and all that fun stuff. And when you have Mike McCarthy in this case, who, people were like, well, should we get rid of him? He took us all these playoff games, and he, was dominating in the North for the longest time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is that his responsibility was to get Brett Hundley ready to play for the Green Bay Packers. Brett Hundley was not ready to play when Aaron Rodgers went down. So that's strike one. Strike two then is, you have Aaron Rodgers back, and he makes the miracle comeback against Chicago in that week one game of the season, and you literally have to figure out a way on how to win the close games. And they had the 4 games in the middle of the season where they literally lost close games, and that again is on the head coach. How do you get your team fired up, inspired, ready to go in order to make that happen? He didn't do that for those 4 games, and then when he lost to Arizona, which should not have been even in the conversation, he comes up to the podium and says the words like, "Don't even ask me what we're going to do because I've never been in this situation before." That's not very inspiring either. So no. I really think that those things kind of like were the stepping stones to Mike McCarthy being exited from the Green Bay Packers. So yes, I think it was time to move on. So back to the better question though, was Lost a great TV show? Absolutely. No, that wasn't the question.
Great question though. Wrong LaFleur, though I think that Sawyer/LaFleur would have done a fine job as well.
The big question is, how much does a head coach make or break the team, or any coach for that matter? And the answer to that is I will give you one game in particular. And it just happens to be about your Philadelphia Eagles, my good friend. And we love picking on our good old dear friends, the Chicago Bears. Can a coach make or break a team? More importantly, can it make or break a game? And the answer is yes, because in this case, both the head coach and the defensive coach for the Chicago Bears decided to send not 11, no. They sent 10 people onto the field to protect their end zone while the Eagles were threatening inside the red zone, and the Eagles happened to score a touchdown on that particular play. So to the answer to your question, absolutely the coaches are responsible for a make or break win that a team is out there for, because had the Eagles not scored that touchdown, the Bears would have won the contest. So there you go. Got your Eagles worked in for you there, Aaron. Thanks so much for calling. Super appreciate it. Good to hear from you as always.
Always good to hear from Aaron Arnett. And be sure to listen to the Arnett Show podcast at thearnettshow.com. And shout out to your Devontae Adams from Fresno State. Way to go, Central California. Good stuff. And I'm expecting big things from Devontae Adams next season, more than ever.
Yeah. Especially if we can get someone that can flank them, because then you have the whole, let's double team a star player or a semi-star player, and that gives Devontae more reads and more opportunities, etc.
Standing by. Also got an email from Steven. He's checking in. Well, the Packers have found a head coach a lot quicker than I thought. I thought it wouldn't be until at least February before the new one would be hired, but welcome, Matt LaFleur. What I'd like to know, since I didn't get a chance yet to listen to the press conference, to find out more about Matt LaFleur and what to expect, and we covered a lot of that earlier in the show. I think you can expect victories, Stephen. He continues, why has he decided to keep Mike Pettin as the defensive coordinator, as I thought the defense sucked this year? I don't know. I think we had a lot of injuries on defense, Troy, and we weren't great, but I think we were improved. So
we were both. Those definitely improved.
Yeah, so even more improved next season. Stephen wraps up by saying, I wonder if he can do something that Mike McCarthy couldn't do lately, beat the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. Stephen also thinks the trend of the NFC North teams hiring head coaches named Matt is very interesting. Stephen, thanks for your email. And yeah, what if every coach in the NFC North is eventually named Matt at the same time? Very confusing.
that would be very confusing.
Trivia question for the future, probably.
Just looking here at the year-over-year comparison of the Green Bay Packers 2018 versus the Green Bay Packers 2017, we ranked 26th in total yards given up on defense in 2017. We ranked 22nd this year, so that is an improvement. And we ranked 22nd in yards. I'm sorry, that was in points. 26th in points, 22 this year. We ranked 22nd in yards given up, and this year we were 18. So we moved up 4 spots on each of those defensive measurements. So Mike Pettin obviously turned it around a little bit, give him another year, and I think we'll be in much better shape.
And in fact, in the press conference today, Coach LaFleur said that he wants a defense that's going to have a lot of ball hawks. Sign me up. I'm ready to watch.
And just for the record, the 2011 Green Bay Packers, who went 15-1 that season, lost to the Giants. I was at that game in the playoffs, the first one for home field advantage. We were 32nd in yards given up on defense. We had the worst defense possible, but even though we had the number 1 offense in points and number 3 offense in yards. So just put that out there in the back of your mind that we've actually had worse defenses with better offenses.
Good point, Troy. Good point.
All right. Well, let's go back to the mailbag and see what we have in there. And of course, it's from our good friends, Caleb Fisher and company up there in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And Caleb says, I'm really happy to see how things go with the new coach this season. Also happy that the Bears lost. Man, that was a great game. And if you haven't had a chance to see the remixed version of Pepsi's Ice the Kicker commercial, oh my God, it's hysterical. Such a great edit. That guy needs to get a job in Hollywood editing TV or film, because that was brilliant. Brilliant.
It looked official. And another great video to search out while you're going all over YouTube is the Spanish language announcing of that missed field goal, which was technically now listed as a blocked field goal.
No, senor. No, senor. No, senor. Papa.
It was crazy. I love it.
So good. So good. Anyway, all in all, I am never going to stop cheering for my Packers, regardless of who the coach is. So go Pack Go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb Fisher and company up there in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Awesome stuff. Also, a few notes from the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group at packerscommunity.com. Don Lejeune, Granny Cheese herself, says, regarding the Coach LaFleur press conference, I think Murphy talked too much. He should have let it all be about the new coach. He kept butting in my opinion. The new coach didn't impress me with his words. Let's just hope he impresses us on the field.
That's right. We never have to hear him talk. We just have to see his clipboard in front of his mouth, and then all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers runs a great play, and we're like, dude, that guy's awesome.
Or as they say, a lot less talk and a lot more action.
Sure, for sure. Speaking of action, Brett Connor over in the UK staying up late to watch all the action over here on the stateside and said Coach LaFleur was very conservative with his answers. At first, I thought he was extremely nervous, but he soon settled into the interview, and you can see that he took the time to process the questions and deliver the right answers. Hopefully a sign of good things to come. A young coach who is hungry and eager to impress and succeed can surely be only a good thing. I would like to think that he has kept all of the best plays in his back pocket ready for his first head coaching role so that he can have his own style of offense. 2019 season should be an exciting one. Cross fingers. Go Pack Go from Brett Connor in the UK.
Excellent. Great to hear from you, Brett. And I like that. I just have one question. Is it September yet?
Not yet.
We got a lot of things to go in between now and then. Also happening in the Facebook group at packerscommunity.com, there's a poll and discussions about what teams may win in the NFL playoffs this weekend, and more great stuff from all of you at packerscommunity.com, which is also awaiting your posts and comments.
One last time with feeling, we just want to say a big thank you to our $24 monthly supporter, the Willie Wood level. That's right. Bryant is out there making it happen by supporting your Packers Fan Podcast. Thanks so much, Bryant, for everything you did this season.
And the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics Facebook group helping out the show at the Aaron Rodgers $12 a month level. It's so very much appreciated. And as a $12 a month or higher podcast supporter, you can have your own Go Pack Go message at the end of the podcast episodes, just like they do.
Supporting us at the Brett Favre $4 monthly level, who is not the new head coach. Welcome to the team, brand new $4 supporter, Lawrence Harvey. That's right. Lawrence, thanks so much for jumping in and hanging out with the $4 contributors like Scotty Clark from the Gaming Outsider podcast, as well as Andre in LA and our good friend Jeff Summerfield, plus the $4 pledge dedicated to lifelong Packer backer Randy Westgame of Wausau. Lawrence, you have done an amazing thing by joining up with this great group of people. Thanks so much for your $4 Brett Favre contribution to the show.
Welcome to the team, as are the Curly Lambeau $1 a month supporters, Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts, Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider, and Velvet Eau Claire. Thank you for your support as well.
You too can make the podcast even better by chipping in a few bucks over at PackersFanPodcast.com/support. All kinds of different levels out there. We got $1 levels, $4 levels, $12 levels, $24 levels, and a bunch more as they go up the chain. I think there's $36 for Leroy Butler, and you got a Ray Nitschke level out there. And of course, the all important Reggie White level, $92 for 6 months. Gets you a ticket to the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field in 2019. So make sure you sign up for that. There's only one spot available at that level. Plus, you get all the other benefits all the way down the chain. Plus, the more money you guys all give collectively helps us do some cool things and reach our goals that we want to have here on the show as well. So make sure you check those out and help us get to our next milestone. We are looking to get those apps back in Spreaker. I know those will be ending here as we move into the off season. So if you want to see the apps back for 2019, make sure you help us get to that next goal up there on the top left-hand side of the Patreon page. So make sure you check that out in the off-season. And just want to say thanks again for all the great support you guys have given us here in 2018.
Yes, Lawrence, Aaron, Hank, the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics, Andre, Scotty, Bryant, Randy, Jeff, and Velvet. You rock, and go Pack Go.
With that, we will say goodbye on this special edition of your Packers Fan Podcast. We are not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, because if we were, then they would have called me to be the coach because you guys wanted me to be there. I appreciate it. But no, Matt's going to do a good job, and we are super excited. If you want us to be on your show in 2019 or even before that as we talk about the draft, OTAs and the like, you can go ahead and reach out to us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com, and either Wayne or I will swing by depending on the schedule.
And be sure to follow us on the off-season on Twitter at PackersFanPod. I'm also on Twitter at Wayne Henderson, and you are on Twitter as well, Sir Troy.
Yes, I am at Troy Heinritz, and we are having a blast chatting with all of you about the new hire there and more hires that are going to be coming over the next couple of weeks. So make sure you check out the community, PackersCommunity.com. Join the conversation on Facebook. It's a gas.
And stay subscribed, and we just want to thank you for listening to this special episode of the Packers Fan Podcast, and we'll be back around the draft with more Packers talk.
So if you're not subscribed yet and you're listening to this just happenstance because it said coach changes up there on the title, or because you're listening on the website, you can get every single episode delivered to you for free and while you're even sleeping by subscribing in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and of course your favorite podcast app of choice. So just hit the subscribe button, get hyped, and stay pumped, because we are excited to get out of here with our good friends from the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics. Take it away for our special edition.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, proud mom of number 88, Ty Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack Go!